Hello and welcome to the second episode in my comprehensive tutorial series for C# and Unity. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you the general layout of Unity, so let's just get right into it. The first thing, of course, we want to do is load up the Unity editor. So I'm just going to open up my hub right here. And you should have a installed version of Unity if you followed the last episode. If you have any problems, make sure to comment down below. So we're just going to go to the projects panel off on the left here, and we're going to go to this blue button that says new project. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is going to create a new project for us. We have some templates to start from. We are just going to go with the normal 3D core. Make sure to select this option so all of the settings are the same for you guys. And then on this right panel here, you will see project name and project location. These are pretty self-explanatory too. I'm just going to name this project tutorial project. And oops, I already generated that in a file location, but that's okay because that file location is kind of dead. So we can just put it there and it will be okay. So we are just going to load this up. This takes a few minutes, so I'm just going to fast forward until Unity decides to finally load, because first starting a project, it has to make a whole bunch of new files. So I'll get back to you on that. All right, and now that we are in the Unity editor, your screen might look a little bit different than mine. This is because this is how I have my Unity set up, but that will be no problem at all, because I'm going to show you how to make this layout and how to customize it to what you want. So just to start off this tour, I guess, you'll notice in the top left part of your screen, you'll see you have many little menus like File, Edit, Assets, Game Object, Component, Window, and Help. Now, we're not going to be really using a few of these panels. So under the File panel, you'll see you have New Scene, Open Scene, Save As, that's just for your project, New Project, Open Project, and Save Project. That's also just, another way to save or open another one of your projects. And then Build Settings and Build and Run. This is when you want to publish your game or test how it is in its final state. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to compile all of your code, all of your objects, and take it outside of the editor and give you an actual executable file to run your game from. So that's just when you want to test how the final product is going to be. Or if you're making your final product, that's also how you would do it. And then Exit, which just closes the software. Under Edit, you'll see all these lovely options. And really, you're only going to really use these right here, cut, copy, paste, the three most important operations. And you'll see this find, which I'll use a few times, but not that often. Play, pause, stop. That's just for the editor, so like to play the simulation, to pause the simulation, and to stop the simulation. You also have sign in and sign out. That's just for your Unity ID. And then you have selection. I honestly don't know what that does. Project settings, that's for settings pertaining to the project. Preferences, that's like all of your personal settings, and then preferences, which is like all of your personal settings, like your color of the editor, software stuff that you use, and the general personal stuff. And then graphics tier is just how good is your GPU and how do you want the thing to work. And grid and snap settings is just a little GUI that shows up here, which is just when you're building stuff, how do you want it to snap to the grid. We will use that a little bit in the future, but that is for a later episode. Under the Assets panel, this is for really importing and exporting custom assets, like your packages. If you have an asset that you want to import, you would import it here, like this import package, or if you want to make your own package, which by the way, packages are how basically Unity people share their content. Like if you have scripts and objects that you want to share, you would export that as a package, and then other people could import it, which is pretty cool. It really makes Unity very free and very easy to share content with. Under game object, really, this is just to create objects. Like you see, create empty child, 3D object. You could create all of your different types of 3D stuff, like a cube, a sphere, a capsule, a cylinder. Under 2D object, you create a sprite. Under effects, you have particle system, Unity's particle system. Light, you have all these different types of lights. Your audio stuff, if you want to do audio. Your video, if you want to add video content. And your UI, if you want to do anything with UI. And then your camera, which is just pretty basic. It's just this thing right here. Now the component, this is basically just all of your components, which, you know, like mesh, you have a mesh filter, mesh renderer. For effects, you have the particle system again. For the physics, you have all these different types of physics stuff. For video, you have your video player again. So basically all of the stuff you can add to objects. Under window here, this is where you will make your own layout. So as you can see, in here you have these panels, which are these are my current active panels. Yes, these are my current active panels. So I have the animation panel open. I have the animator. I have the asset store. I have the console, the game, the hierarchy, the inspector, the lighting, the project, and the scene. Now, you'll see that, let's just go to my scene view right here in the top left. You'll see that at the top bar right here, you see I have scene, asset store, and animator. I can click between these because these are like tabs. It's kind of like a window. Like, you know how on like a Windows PC or on a Mac, you can like take the application and snap it to anywhere you want. Well, Unity is kind of the same. I want my scene view to be on the right. So you just click and drag that little name thing there, and it will pop out into this little window thing, and you can just snap it wherever you want. So now my scene is over there, and now I have the animator panel open on the left. Or I want to add this scene view back to that animation panel. Boom, you just drag it next to the animator. So that's how you move panels. Now, let's say I want, let's say I'm going for analysis, and I want the profile paneler. Well, I just go to analysis right here inside the window menu. So it's window, analysis, and then you'll see profiler. And now my profiler is open. It's now a new window that I can move around and put anywhere I want. So let's say I want the profiler right there. That's possible. I can put it wherever I want. Unity is very customizable to how you want your layout to be. So let me just close that tab. Now, a general overview of the main panels that we are going to be using in this series. You have the scene panel, which is basically the panel that you like make your game in. Like, you can move around. Controls are right click and move the mouse. That will move the camera. And then you just have basic when you're holding right click. So hold right click. WASD. It's just like a first person camera. And that's basically all of the controls. Mouse wheel will zoom you. Very, very useful. But that's basically all of the movement. And then in the scene view, you also see in the top left, you'll have these different controls. You'll have the grabby control. That just lets you pan. So just hold left click and it will like move you. Next to that, you have the move tool. So select a object and you can just move it in the plane. Like this, back and forth, using these different arrows. You also have the rotation tool, pretty important. You can just rotate stuff like so. You also have the scale tool for the camera. This does absolutely nothing, but you could see in the inspector, which we will go over later, you could see the scale is changing. For the camera, doesn't do anything like I said, but it's just a overview. You also have this tool, which is a rect tool. Since the camera is not a rectangle or any type of mesh, this will not work. But let me just, for example, I insert a cube into here and I reset it. I simply just move it like this. So you can just like scale rectangles and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, pretty neat. And then you have this tool, which is like all three in one. You have your rotation, you have your move, and you have your scale. So you could scale it up and down like that. You can rotate it to your fancy, and then you can move it to your fancy. And then that is basically it for those tools. So that is the scene panel. The next thing is your game panel, which is basically what your camera and what your player will see during the play session. So if I add a cube again, and I reset the position, you'll see that in the scene view, I can move, I can go all up in it, but the game view, it shows what the camera sees. So if I move the camera, like so, you'll see that the cube gets closer. It's basically what the game is going to look like. So this will also include all of your rendering stuff, all of your effects, all of that good stuff will be in the game view, because that's what you're going to also use when you want to test your game, like simulate it. You'll use that. So that is pretty cool, and that's a very, very useful panel. Normally, I always have my scene panel on the left and my game panel on the right, just so I have both, so I can see the debug scene view and then the game view, so I can actually play in it. Moving on from those panels, you'll see in the bottom left I have my project panel open. If you go to Window and then General, you'll see that there is this project panel option, and that is this panel in the bottom left right here. This very, very important panel as well. This panel contains all of your game assets. So any folder that is under the assets directory will be inside this panel. So it's like all your scripts, all your objects, all your prefabs, all your materials, all your textures, all of your game assets will be inside this panel. And you can click through the files. If you can right click it like this, go to create, and I'm feeling a material. Boom, it makes a material for your game. You can type this to be whatever you want, so test material, and then you just created your own new material. I'm just going to get rid of it because we don't need it, but this project panel is very useful. It's how you just manage all of your game assets, how you drag them into the game, how you make prefabs, which we will go over in a later video, but just I would always have it open. It's a very useful panel. Moving on to the middle section of my screen, of course, this will be different for you because everyone has their own preference. If you go to Window, and then General, and then Hierarchy, this will show this panel. And basically, this is just an outlay of the structure of your current scene. Unity has a scene system, which a scene is basically just a collection of assets. So, like, one game could be all in one scene. You don't have to like separate them, but basically a scene is just a collection of game objects that the game or that the engine will run. So in this series, I'm probably not going to do any scene management. That will probably be a different video which will go over it, but basically we are just going to use this one scene, sample scene, and inside here you'll see that it has 3 children. Now, in game development and in programming in general, you have a parent, child, and grandchild system, which basically means that a parent is an object. Think of an object as a thing, and then that thing can have children. Those children can also have children, just like how you have parents and grandparents. So it's just ownership and like how things are structured. So this sample scene has 3 children. That children include main camera, this light, and this cube. Now that is just a basic scene, but I can then right click on this cube, and then I can click I want another cube. Now this generates another cube, but it is a child of cube. So that means that when I click the parent, I am selecting both the cube and the child cube. So then both of these move together. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, make sure to comment and ask questions. I am more than happy to answer all of your guys' questions if you have any to ask. Moving on from the hierarchy panel, you see that I have the inspector panel open. Now, if you go to Window, General, you'll see that inspector is also here. Now, let me just click on this cube in the scene view. You see, we get all of these fancy looking options like this transform right here as position, rotation, scale. Well, that is really simply just the position of this object in 3D space. So if we move the cube up and down, you see that the y changes, because in games, if we look at it, there's an x coordinate, a y coordinate, and a z, which basically x is horizontal, y is vertical, and z is like depth, how far something is away from something else. Visually, kind of. Just think of it like that. So in the inspector panel, you also see that we have cube mesh filter, and we have mesh renderer, and we have box collider. I will go over all of these components separately in a later video, but just for right now, the inspector panel is basically how to modify components and things on an object. So it's a very important panel that I would also always have open. The 5 panels that I have on screen right now are basically like the 5 mandatory panels that I would always recommend having open at any given time, because they are very useful and you will almost always be using them and always going between them. But other than that, that will conclude my tour or guide on Unity. I hope this was helpful, informative. If you have any questions about anything from this video, please feel free to put your questions in the comments. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.